Good morning, everybody.
Why is your chair so far away from me?
I don't know. Let's scoot it up.
Yeah, scoot it up a little bit.
What's up, everybody? This is Bevo,
And I'm Robert Rostick.
and this is episode 55 of Raising Unmanageables, the place to be if you are creative on a journey and you need people to talk to communicate with. It's just a community for creatives, and we're going to talk about some creative things right now.
Yeah, and we're about to create it as we go.
We're about to create it because today we actually don't have a topic to talk about, so we're just going to jump in at it. However, as we're talking about that,
Yes.
we do have a topic to talk about.
Well, we have actually several things we can go into.
We have several things to talk about. Today in the studio we have a young lady who is interning with us and in the beginning stages of helping us out. With
Interning means that she's trying to figure out if she's going to turn around and come back.
Yeah, she's like, am I going to go in or turn around and go back home? So we still have yet to figure that part out. Hopefully she stays.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a good learning experience.
We're a good crew.
Yeah, so.
And her name is again?
Her name is Alex.
Alex.
Pronounce your last name for me.
Zadarozny.
See?
Alex
Zadarozny.
She's a foreigner, but she has her car papers, her cards and everything.
She was
So
born here. Everything,
ICE, stay away.
everything is good
Stay
to go.
away. And producing, as always, is Mason Gehring over taking your questions and listening to your comments. So make sure that you say something, subscribe, and make sure that you let us know what's on your mind as well.
Absolutely. So, Robert Rostick,
Yes, sir.
you said something interesting to Alex this morning as you were setting up. And you said, and I forget exactly how it went, but it was something about starting from the bottom. You were explaining to her setting up the set, and you always start the set from the back forward.
Yeah, the back forward.
And then installing the camera, you were talking about bottom upwards.
Yeah,
there was a cool analogy you had in there, and I kind of want to. What was the purpose of that analogy?
Well, I was saying that if you don't have your foundation in order, and the foundation being the back or the ground, then everything above is going to crumble. So you figure out what your stage is going to look like, and then your people, how they're going to interact in front of that, and then the lighting that's going to then bring that to life. When it comes to the camera, you have to have your base set up, and then the camera has to be mounted to something securely, and then you're able to raise or lower it and do whatever you need. But without that firm base, you are going to lose. And I said that in an analogy that it applies to people as well. If you don't take care of the people on the bottom, you're going to lose on the top. That was my deal.
And that was the whole quote,
Yeah.
a verbatim. And I was fishing for it, but I remember the concept, and that's the part I want to talk about is setting the stage for your life as a creative, right? And everything you've done in the past, everything you've done just 5 minutes ago is setting the stage for the things that you're looking to do in the future.
Absolutely.
Right? And there were some other things you were talking about with Alex as well with regard to, and this is before we got here, you were talking about college and
Sure.
and how to start looking towards the future.
Sure.
And so what are ways we can get into looking at what our past used to be, start learning from it, parsing some of the undesirable things that we don't really need to carry into the future with us, but then start grabbing on to parts of the story that are truly who we are and applying them forward. What are ways to do that?
One of the things that I said to Alice when she first got here is that if you want to know something, you have to go after it. And if you don't go after it, later on you're going to say, I wish someone had told me this. But it's up to you in order to seek out the information. And people do tell you things all along the way. They tell you along the path, but you're not always ready to hear it. One of the things that I said to her early was, why the hell are you here today? When you could be out with your friends, partying this summer, you're gonna be having a good time, but yet you're stuck here with these old fuddy-duddies like us.
She could still be asleep right now.
Yeah. And I said that the fact that you're here is setting the foundation for your future.
Right.
Because you are interested in video, photography, the visual mediums, you have to be there. And we talked about showing up at a few episodes back. And if you're not going to show up, don't expect the rewards.
Any result. You can't have any expectations.
You can't have any.
If you don't show up for your life. Not even just for the things that you're expecting, but if you don't show up for the things that you want out of life, you can't have any expectations.
Now, whether she does video, whether she does photography, or whether she becomes a corporate executive, it doesn't matter. The foundation is set. She gets up, trucks her body and brain and enthusiasm down to the studio and jumps in and says, I want to learn. I want to be a part of it. Well, at least that's what she's saying this week. Okay. Next week, it might be something different.
Maybe. And you know what I find is interesting about that, too, is not just young people, but a lot of people. Tampa's far from where we live, and she's still on the same side of the bridge as we are.
Oh, in Dunedin.
Yeah, in Dunedin.
It's far to you, but it's not far to me because I just come straight here like 10 minutes.
It seems far because I think the sun shines a little differently in Dunedin.
It does. It does.
Yeah, I think there's a whole lot more forecasting in Tampa. But anyway. So people think it's a long drive, right?
Yeah.
And I guess in like technical terms, it's a little bit of a distance.
Okay.
So getting here means you want to be here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Especially when you don't have to be here.
150%. Showing up is the key to the beginning of something happen.
A lot of people won't take a 30-minute, 40-minute drive to get to wherever their goals are. If it doesn't take 5 to 15 minutes, they don't want to do it.
And that is a problem. But let's talk about something along the lines of what I wanted to talk about today. I know you wanted to talk about Alex, and I can't make this whole show about her because it's about me and my ego.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's talk about your ego.
Let's talk about me and my ego.
Right. And well, unfortunately, your chair doesn't recline back far enough for me to actually counsel you in this situation.
So, goodness.
And I don't have my writing pad, so
here's what I want to put out there.
A sit-down session.
I hope you guys had a great 4th of July weekend.
Absolutely.
And we were able to have one too. I know you missed us all last week, and that's fine. We want you to miss us from time to time. But I had an opportunity to do what I call a great job.
Okay.
Now, you don't often get a great job. You often get a job in the commercial world. And it's up to you to make that job into something, palatable, likable, and worth it. Mm-hmm. We talked about what makes something worth it. But I was given the opportunity to travel somewhere, to do a job, and to not have anybody dictate to me how that job would go. And because there was no one to dictate to me how that job would go, I actually overdid the job.
Okay.
I overdid the job not because I wanted to satisfy the client. Yes, that's part of it. I really want to satisfy the client. But I wanted to satisfy myself.
Right. So now, when you say over dictate, and did they set any boundaries at all?
They set no boundaries.
No boundaries. Okay, so that's what I was getting at. So sometimes that can be scary.
That can be scary.
Or it can go the opposite direction.
But here's the thing about it. When someone does not set a boundary, that means that they don't have any idea of what to expect.
Until they see it.
Until they see it. That's pretty much what it boils down to.
Right.
If someone sets a boundary, that means that they are dictating to you, this is absolutely what they want.
Right.
So it's like going to a restaurant saying to the chef, surprise me.
Right.
I know it's going to be good, but just surprise me. And you get what you get. And then sometimes we go in there and we go, like, I tried the grouper last week and it really wasn't that good, so I'm going to go for the steak this time. And I want it medium rare and I want it, a certain way. Mm-hmm. So this particular person, they'd seen my work before. I'd worked with them before.
Okay.
So it was nothing new. But the idea that I was able to have freedom to look at something the way I would want it to be seen if it was my place. It was a real estate job is what it was, up in the mountains. But the whole point was that how would I want this to look? Mm-hmm. What are my standards? And am I lowering my standards, or are my standards really pretty high? And if they are pretty high, then I will rise to the occasion of producing that particular work. Or if my standards are very low, I'll produce that type of work.
Right.
And I found out, much to my dismay, is that my standards are pretty damn high. And I love that. I actually love the fact that I set forth to do something, and when it wasn't right, I redid it to make it right. And I think that's one of the things about that we talk about, the foundation of your learning. Not to the point, and when I say make it right, not to the point of pissing off the people around me, but understanding in myself that I want more from myself.
So what you're saying is, it turned out to be a great job for you because you were able to step into the role of the customer.
Yes.
At that point, and you shot it from this perspective of what if this was my house?
Yes.
How do I want it to be seen?
Absolutely.
And I think that's a very important mindset to have, or behavior to have, if we're able to embody and take care of the jobs that we work on as though that service is ours or that product is ours, then we
Absolutely.
always do a good job at it. But a lot of times we're always kind of just focused on, well, they're not paying me enough, so I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this part because they're not paying me enough. Or me and the client don't gel that much, so I'm just going to give them just enough, versus going above and beyond because you actually care about the thing that you're shooting and the people that you're shooting it for.
And in the end, the bottom line is your signature goes on it.
Right.
Regardless of what kind of interactions you have with your client, whether or not you felt like vomiting that day or you had a great time with the missus the night before, it doesn't matter. The thing is that your signature is on it. And when it's all said and done, 3 weeks from now, 3 months from now, 3 years from now, they're going to look at your work. And the end is that signature is yours. So it was very empowering to come to the realization is that I'm no longer doing work for other people anymore. My mindset is that I'm going to do the best work I can for me, the best. And I know my standards are way the hell up there.
Did you get there in the middle of that job, or did you walk into that job with that realization?
I got it sort of after I pressed the button for the first time, after I set up the first composition.
Right.
And I said, shot the shot, and my brain was saying, okay, this is good enough. Then I said to myself, no, it's not. What about it isn't good enough? Is it the lighting? Is it the exposure? Is it the composition? What wasn't? The lighting was really good. The composition was good. The exposure was good. My attitude wasn't there. That's what was bad.
Right. Your ego left.
Man, the moment I changed that attitude, all of a sudden, it was zone. I was in the zone at that point. And I'm saying that to say not so much about my ego. I'm saying it's about all artists, all creators, is that at some point you are going to have to realize that this is your work and your standard.
Right. When you mentioned the ego, I've been questioning a lot, especially this week or the last couple weeks, of some of the people I've met along the way in this last couple weeks. They've run into people, especially from an artist perspective, they've run into people who keep telling them the same story of creatives, artists aren't supposed to make money. We're supposed to be starving our whole life, right? And it got me thinking, like, that's a terrible position to be in.
Oh, absolutely.
When the whole system is set up for you to think that way from conception, right? Conception. You're not going to make money doing this. Creatives and artists are just children over here playing their whole lives while real adults are doing real jobs, right? And that's the perception. And it's the perception from other creatives. As we're teaching creatives, as we're mentoring other artists, we're mentoring them through this process of, you're not going to make money at this. And I want to change that mindset. And I think a lot of it is exactly what you were able to do, is to kind of take yourself out of it a little bit and say, I'm doing the work not just for myself. I'm putting myself into the work, but I'm doing this for everyone else, right? And I think once you remove yourself from the equation a little bit, it allows you to step outside and say, this this is what people need from me, right?
Absolutely.
And you're not doing, you're not, as an artist, it's always kind of a touchy subject because you always want to feel like you're producing work that's coming from the inside out, right? And a lot of the times, asking them to step outside of that for a little bit and say, what you're producing is for all of us to consume and for
Absolutely.
all of us, and this is your gift to us.
And that becomes your super ego.
Right.
That becomes the part that's rationalizing, saying that it is not just about me.
Right.
But it is about me and the whole of the community.
Right.
And
in that moment, it's about me.
It's
It's about
definitely
me and my craft.
It's got to be about me and my craft.
Right.
But the bigger, broader picture is that it's going out to others, and for others to enjoy and to be a part of.
And I think that's the only way we keep changing the story around how to change our behavior and thinking around how we work is we have to understand that the work that we're doing, if you don't want it to be out in public, make it and then file it away. But then don't expect for people to understand.
Put it on your bathroom wall because it's going to be close to crap as far as I'm concerned. Because once you release it from that filing drawer and out to the world, it's no longer crap anymore. It becomes a part of the society. It becomes a part of the bigger picture.
And it gets to be judged.
And judging is fine.
Yeah, it is.
Judging is fine. We're going to have trolls regardless of, but even in that judgment, somebody is not going to know the process that you will inspire and enlighten. Some people will know the process and wish that they can get back to that sort of production that you're doing. And some people will just ignore it. But we are not there, and I repeat, we are not there to please everybody. We are there to provide what's inside of us, expose it outwardly, and say, honestly, here I am. You on the other side get to choose to accept that or reject it. If you reject it, fine, you'll find your audience. But if you so choose to accept it, then I am going to work even harder to make that group or then those people, that community, that's the word I'm looking for, larger.
And I just think it's a beautiful concept and a beautiful idea to go into a job and say, just for that moment, this is my project. And I need to take care of it as though it's mine. And if I do that, my client's going to be happy.
Oh, sure.
The people that have to view it are going to be happy because I've taken as much care of that thing as I would anything else that's personal to me. And I just think that's a really great mindset to move forward with for anybody. And I kind of want to just I'm going to steal it actually and always talk about it. So sometimes I find these little nuggets of information that I like, and I just keep kind of thinking about what they mean to me, making them a part of what my storyline is. That way when I repeat them back to other people, it doesn't come from this, you just heard it on the internet type of thing. But I'm definitely still in that mindset because I think it's beautiful to be able to start a conversation like that with someone and say, hey, if you do this exactly how you want to do it, and if you do this with the care that you do everything else, you'll like the job. Everybody else will like the job.
Everybody else
and then
will
you'll
like
be fulfilled. You'll have fulfillment in that process as well. And I think that's the thing we're searching for, right? That's the part that makes a job a good job or a bad job is fulfillment. And whether or not we're doing a good job and loving that work.
When I was on a Sunday afternoon, I'd go over to mother-in-law's house, and she cook up chicken like everybody. Yeah, black folk eat chicken, but white people eat more chicken. So there you go. It's out there. But she cooked chicken or lamb or fish or shrimp or seafood, whatever she cooked. But people would gather around the table and tell stories. I mean, stories of the day, stories of the people down the street who's doing whom and all that other stuff. But the point is that food always, and I mean always, tastes really good because we were enjoying something together.
Right.
I cooked a really good fish about 3 months ago.
This is a salmon?
No,
no,
not
you
the
had
salmon.
salmon for your birthday.
That was my birthday.
Okay.
But I cooked it was a grouper a few months ago. Anyway, I sat at the table, and no one was home.
I was going to say, because Kim.
Kim, she can be around it, but she can't. She didn't eat it because she's allergic to it. But I cooked this grouper, and I did a really nice job on it, and sat at the table, and I was there by myself. That grouper, and the first bite, it was good. The second bite, it was less good. And I looked around the table, and yeah, folks, you're about to hear it. I actually started sharing a tear on it because there was nobody to share that goodness with. So, because there was no one to share that goodness with, fish didn't taste so well.
Yeah.
It wasn't that good at the end. So my point is this, is that when we do something and we're able to share it with the people in the community around us, it's even better.
It is better. And I think, speaking of community, I think that's the way we've made it this far. Not just civilization-wise, but that's the way we've made it this far.
Yeah, sure.
Is each other and then the people we surround ourselves with. And I think if we want to continue to see good things come from our industry, the industry and the work that we're doing, I think community is the only way that happens.
Yeah, it has to happen that way.
Right. It's for us to keep jumping in and helping each other out and finding out ways that we help each other out so that we can survive, that we can make money together, and we can just keep pushing forward and creating new things.
I had to go and pay for that fish, by the way.
Yeah.
I had to pay a good grouper. It's not cheap.
It was a healthy one.
And because it was a good grouper, I paid a certain price.
Right.
Good things do cost. And if that person didn't charge me for it, I think the grouper would have tasted even nastier.
It would have been worse.
It would have been worse.
So not only it would have been a cheap grouper and no one to share it with. Yeah, and you don't want to have a cheap life with nobody to share it with. That's terrible. But anyway, before we start both crying in front of the camera, I hope there's interaction today. If there's not, we'll just keep it moving. But Robert Rostick, I was thinking, you were talking about embodying that job, and it made me think episodes ago when you talked about the fact that you hadn't found enjoyment in your work in a long time.
Sure, absolutely, right? Yes.
Was that kind of like the beginning of it, or a way into how you can start to see that differently? I
think what it turned out to be that there was a light switch there the whole time. It's just that it hadn't been turned on. And all I needed to do was reach out and flip the switch. As I mentioned, I was on a good job. I had good light. I had good exposure. I had good composition. I had bad attitude. And the switch was to turn off the bad attitude.
And then being aware of it helped.
And totally being aware of it. And so that was the big difference. And it has brought a great deal of joy to my thinking, my motivation. And we'll see how long it lasts. But for now, I understand that if I want something, I have to actually go after it and not expect somebody else to just give it to me or wait for it, in a sense. I really do have to go after it. And I have to understand myself in order to get it. Because if I'm chasing something that I don't know what it is that I want, then that's, you're spinning your wheels.
Absolutely. So I think we're going to end there.
We always end on something.
It's a good point.
Oh, it is a good point.
You hear I can't even talk. And
I think we're starting to ramble at this point.
Let's end it on that. That's a good note to end it on. Like, show up for the job, do a good job, and put yourself in that position of your client and the thing in what would they actually do if you were them. So take us out, Robert Rostick. Hit us with the line.
I need you guys to know that no matter what you do, no matter how you feel, no matter where you are in the creative process, take time out of your day and be a bit unmanageable.
That's awesome. Everybody, thank you again. Like, subscribe, and if you haven't noticed, we have Unmanageables t-shirts that are for purchase on the Unmanageables website. So unmanageables.com, support us. Everything will go through buying new equipment and making things fantastic for you guys watching and listening. So
And paying our interns.
and paying the interns, yes.
Oh,
Stay tuned for next week, episode 55.
56. It'll be 56.
It'll be 56. Now we're
So,
rambling. Turn the
yeah.
damn camera off. Let's do it.